Welcome to the training videos for the Positive Lifestyle Program for high schools. In this video, we'll break down the what, why and how of the PLP for high school session. We'll look at each part and use the self-awareness session as an example. When you open the facilitated material, the first thing you'll see is a snapshot of the session. It has an outline of all the sections and what the purpose of them is. In the self-awareness one, it looks at how each of the sections help young people to develop their self-awareness and give them tools to do that in their lives. The next section is the equipment and materials required needed for this session. So in the self-awareness session, there's things like the character cards, the quiz, timer, etc., etc. This is a chance for you to get everything together before the session so you know that you have everything you need. The last thing in the session outline is the notes for this session. This is a spot where we put extra advice or ideas for customization and adaptation. In the self-awareness session, it's a reminder that this is often difficult for young people and for you to be encouraging and you give them specific ways that they can do this. The next section is the introduction. You'll be running around and getting the groups, people will come in at different times and you'll be connecting with each other, but the introduction is a good way to start the session off together. It sets the scene for what's going to come, and it's really grounded in the lived experience of young people, trying to explore the questions that they're asking in their own lives. It's in the group material too, so you can read it out or you can invite a young person to read it out if that's something that they feel comfortable doing. For example, in the self-awareness session, the group material looks at what happens in our lives when we understand who we are and how we live in the world when we can do that. The next section is the game. It's really important when young people are involved that whatever we're doing is fun. And so the game is a fun way to get up and about, to be active, but also to set the context of the session, to explore some of the ideas we've just raised in the introduction, but to live them out in a fun way, and then have a chat, a discussion to explore how their personal experiences connect to the game and the idea that we're exploring. That question is also in the group material. So for example, in the self-awareness session, we do a game called the Guess the Character game, which is all about without saying the name of the character, talk through the characteristics that a character has so that other people can guess, right? And then it invites them to think about, well, what are the characteristics that you have in your life that people might say about you? Take a moment now to think about you and games. What makes games fun for you? Is it just doing something, the activity? Is it the competition or silliness and fun? How can you make PLP for high schools as fun as possible? The next part of the session is probably the big meat section. It's the activity. Now, as we've talked about before, Positive Lifestyle Programs for high school is built on activity-based learning. Again, we learn best by doing. The hope is that these activities are not just an object lesson, but an actual experience that young people are having that connects with experiences they have in their real life. These activities will require teamwork and planning. They'll need to get together as a group to solve them. Sometimes they might even fail, but there's also lots that you can learn from failing. As young people are doing the activity, yes, you'll be facilitating, but make sure you're observing too. Notice who's doing what or who's not doing things. Are people enjoying it or people finding it difficult? This will help you later when we're doing the reflection. The reflection is built on questions, so asking them questions about what they've done in the activity and how that might relate to their life, but you can also ask questions from your observations. You can say something like, oh, I noticed that was really difficult for you. What was going on for you? Those kind of questions. For example, in the self-awareness material, the activity is a series of small different games. And the idea is that the games are all very different. And the question is for young people is to identify which of the activities they like doing and which ones they don't do as a way into thinking about how their personalities are different from each other. Often in the group material for young people, there's extra material built on the activities. So in the self-awareness one, they rate each game out of 5. To help them think through, oh, I like this and I don't like that. Think about yourself and learning. How do you learn from experience? What's your reflection process? Do people help you with that? Or is it something you do on your own? The next section in a PLP for high school section is the digging deeper section. This is the most kind of teaching section in the book, but it's about exploring these ideas in a bit more detail and trying to give young people knowledge, skills, and tools to make a difference in their life. The material is in your facilitator guide, but it's also in the group material, so young people can read along or you can read out loud if that's something your group feels comfortable with. Then there's a series of questions that again built on young people's experience, asking them what do they think about these ideas? Where do they see them in their life? What difference might they make to their life? Also, there's bonus material in the group material as well. So for example, in the self-awareness session, we look at, what makes up ourselves, your personality, your community, your skills, what you like. And in the group material, there's an opportunity for young people to write some answers to those categories. Think about yourself in running the Digging Deeper section. How confident do you feel in teaching? Aside from the materials and reading out what's written on the page, what would help you to explain concepts? Finally, each PLP for High School session finishes with a conclusion. There's some text there that you can read out, or young people can read it from the group material. The text mirrors the introduction, raising the same kind of questions, but hopefully now exploring some of the concepts you've talked about to get towards maybe an answer or a conclusion. After you've read that out, invite the group to share their takeaways from the session and see if there's anything that needs following up with yourself or a teacher or a welfare officer. Finally, remind the group when the next session is and invite them back next time. Thanks for watching this video. If you've got any more questions, check out our website or speak to your local member of the National Youth and Young Adults team.